We are going to be recording this session. So this session is on contact buyer or seller action plans. We are going to be recording this session today. And before we jump in, I just want you all to locate that chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. And if you can, click on it and open it up and drop me a line. It lets me know that a couple things. One, my technology is working and you can hear me. And two, it also lets me know that during this session, you can ask questions as we go through things. The goal of today is that you get as much information about how you can utilize the system to really set things up the way that you need to so that you can follow up with your contacts in an effective way. Awesome. Awesome. So as we start to jump into things, I do also want to ask you all, how many of you have a plan? So whether it's a new online lead or a new point of contact, maybe it's a past client, you say, hey, my system for following up with this person is this. They are going to get added to this drip campaign. I'm going to call them on these days throughout the year, and that you have a plan with your contacts that you really work. Awesome. And Carol Lee, that's exactly what I found, is that many of us are really good with following up with people. We're really good at maintaining those relationships, but there isn't an in-place process with that. And so managing that follow-up can be very difficult when it comes to also managing your time. Would you all agree with that? Hey, managing my follow-up is awesome. Maybe I'm really good at it, but it takes a good portion of my day to really work my follow-up plan. So today, our agenda is really, how do you create an action plan? What are the types of items? How do you complete those actions? How can I auto attach those plans? And why is it important to have a plan? So there's been a lot of research that's been done about the power of like to-do lists and task lists and things like that. They say, some of the statistics are that they say that people who actively work a to-do list tend to be up to 50% more productive than people who don't have a list. And they also attribute that to a couple things. So not only are they more productive, they get more done, they have more sales, they make more money, but the feeling of accomplishment and the drive to do more increases as well. Awesome, April. So as you are building these plans, as you're working these plans, not only will you have more productive days, but your drive to do more and your drive to increase your sales will also increase because you'll see the results. So those two things go hand in hand. When you have a list, you become more productive. When you're more productive, you set bigger goals and you accomplish more because you're seeing the results. So I'm going to post this on our Facebook page. This is an example of a lead action plan that you might have. And so if you don't have a follow-up plan, what is step one for this session today? And step one is really this. You need to write down each of your contact types, and we're going to go through this. I'm going to show you where it is. And then you need to decide, what is going to be my strategy for following up with this contact type? Whether it's an online lead, whether it's a past client, whether it's someone in your circle of influence, what does that look like for me? What standard am I going to hold myself to? And this is just an example. You might have an action plan that has a response email, a call daily for the first 7 days, an automatic email introduction, setting up a portal, an auto email portal check on day 3, and then a call weekly in 4 weeks. So we're going to go through how to build this. Before I start sharing my screen with you, are there any questions before we jump in to the building of the contact plans and where you go and all of that? Any questions so far? I know we've really just reviewed what we're going to go through, but I want to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen with you. You all should be able to see my screen now, yes? Awesome. Yes, Jen, I can. So the place where you're going to start, and this, I know that many of you have been on the series of webinars that I've done in the last 4 weeks. This really all links back to managing your contacts and managing your leads. So as you're thinking about when you're going in and looking at your contacts, you're going to look at your different contact types. And as you're looking at these contact types, I want you to decide how you're going to follow up with them. Cindy, I see your question, and I am not the appropriate person to ask that question to. I don't know the answer to that. So as I'm looking at my contact types, I may be looking at something that says, hey, this is a circle of influence, or this is my homeowner group, or this is my artist group, whoever they are, and I'm going to make a list of 5 to 10 things that I want to do to follow up with that person. And I'm going to make that list of things first. This will make your life easier when it comes to building your action plans. I think that a lot of times we get caught up in the, okay, I've got these contacts, I know I want to follow up with them, but I don't know where I want to start. And so what I would highly recommend is you look at one person. So if I look at this person, Zach. Zach is someone that I used to work with. So I may say, okay, he is a referral agent. He's in my circle of influence. He's a homeowner. And I'm going to save those things. And then I'm going to say, okay, for Zach, I want to, when I think about him and I think about following up, these are the things I want to do. I want to text him once a month. I want him to get my monthly newsletter, and I want to call him once a quarter. And you're going to do that exercise, not for every contact, but for every contact type, because that will help you really dig into each individual type and build your plans in a way that you can utilize them more efficiently. After you've made that list of how you're going to follow up, you're going to go in and go to your tools and preferences on the left-hand side of your screen. I'm just going to open this up over here so I can have that as well. And you are going to go to the section that says My Action Plans. So this is where you go in and you build your action plans. Now, there are 2 different kinds of action plans. I know that, Jen, you said, hey, you're going to do this for your agents. So I know we've got a couple admin on the call, and I want to make sure that you know how to do this as well. So if can everybody else hear me? It looks like Carolee can't hear me. Carolee, try refreshing your screen. Yes, and here's the thing. As you're talking about as an office, can you set these up from the standpoint of, I want to create an action plan. I want all my agents to have access to it. Jen, the answer to your question is yes, you can do that. Instead of going to tools and preferences, my action plans, you're going to go to the admin tab and you're going to go to action plans here. So I can see here, I can go to admin, action plans, and that's where, if you are an office admin on this call, that's where you're going to build your action plans if you want them to be accessible for all of your agents. Everything else is the same today. For agents on the call, you're going to go to Tools and Preferences and then to My Action Plans. And then you're going to open up and you've got your action plans here. So as you're looking at these action plans, to start a new plan, you're going to click this plus new in the upper right-hand corner. So when I click plus new, a tab pulls out from the right-hand side of the screen and you're able to name that action plan. So this might be a hot lead action plan. I would recommend naming these action plans in a very similar way to the way you name your contact types. That name needs to be very descriptive so that when you're adding that action plan, you know exactly who needs to be attached to that plan. And then I'm going to choose an action plan type. Today we're talking about contacts and leads action plans. Next week we will be talking about listing action plans. So today's all about people. Next week is all about listings. And we're going to click Save. Now, once I click Save, I can see that that action plan has been created. I've got the details here on the right-hand side. And I'm going to start building my items. So when I go back and I think about this list, excuse me again. When I think about this list of items, that is what I am building in this screen. Thank you, Lisa. So we're going to go in and I'm going to just start adding these items. The first thing I'm going to add is that a response email immediately. So I'm going to click plus, and then I'm going to have an item type, and I have a couple choices I can do here: an automatic system email, a follow-up request, an add to campaign, or a send survey. I want to mention this. As you're adding items that are marketing items, whether it is a campaign or an auto email that goes out, you need to create those in your marketing section here. And you'd go to marketing, you'd go to My Save Content, and you'd create that content. Yes, April, it is. Carol Lee, this is being recorded, and you will get a copy of that recording today. I don't know the answer to why it's not working for you. It seems like everyone else is able to be on this, but I will make sure that you get a copy of the recording. And so I'm going to go back in. We're going to go to my hot lead action plan, and I'm going to begin adding items. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that automatic system email. This is going to be my auto response email. And I'm going to then put in the subject line. So the subject line may be, I will reach out shortly. I want it to be due. The next section is when do you want it to be due? You have some choices here. These are all interval based. That means these are not going out on individual days. They are going out on intervals so that your action plans never expire. So if I say, hey, I'm going to add this action plan to Jen today, it's going to do things based on today's date. But if next Monday I add April, she's not going to miss items that are included in the plan. Does that make sense to everybody? Awesome. So I'm going to have it be due immediately. If you choose immediately from this drop down, you can disregard this timestamp. If I choose that I want this to go out 1 day after, I can tell the system what time I want it to go out. These times are based on your local time zone. So this time zone where your main office is. Then I have some options for how this is sent. Do I want it to wait a couple minutes? Hey, I want it to wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes after I add them. Do I want this to repeat? Yes or no? Who do I want this to send from? The system, so does it send from your Back at You office? Does it send from the owner of the lead? So if you are on a team or if you are sharing a contact, there is a section for an owner of a contact or the assigned agent of the contact. I can show you that in just a minute. So the owner or the assigned agent. And then we're going to choose our content. Again, I'm going to click search. I'm going to find that content I created. So here's my piece of content, Ask Your Realtor. If I want to be blind copied on this so I know when it comes out, no big deal. I can type my email address in here. And then I choose who it goes out to. Does it go to the assigned agent, the owner agent, or the contact or lead? So what does this mean? This means if you want to send yourself an email letting yourself know, hey, you've got this person's been added to an action plan. This is what you've got going on. You can set it up to send these emails to yourself as well. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click save, and now I can see my item here. Again, I just want to quickly show you what that owner agent versus user agent. So right here, you've got your assigned agent, and right here, you've got your owner agent. So if you're on a team, it may have this assigned to you. So this might say April Johnson, and the owner might be Kelsey Fulton. And that's the difference in when you're looking at this section. Let's see. Here. When you're looking at this section of who is it sending from, the owner agent or the assigned agent, and who is it sending to, the assigned agent or owner agent. Does that make sense to everyone, the difference in the owner agent versus the assigned agent? If you are not on a team, you are going to be the same. It's going to be the same for both, and you don't need to worry about that part of it. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, that's a great question. So their question is, hey, what if we have an impromptu team? 2 agents that are just sharing individual contacts. They're not sharing everything. How do you handle that? In that case, Jen, I would recommend that these get set up to go to the assigned agent, so that when they're sharing those individual onesie-twosie contacts, they're coming from the agent that is likely is working with that. So you might have a plan here that you set up, and it is, hey, this plan is a hot new lead action plan shared contact, a hot new lead action plan individual agent, and you could have things come out from both of them then. If there's only one team member, it's not going to matter whether you choose the agent or the owner agent, because they're the same. Great question. Let's see. It looks like I've got another question up here in my chat box. Just a quick sec. Awesome. So let's talk about other things that you can add. So now I've got an auto email that's going out to these clients. And what I'd like to do is talk about how and when to follow up. So we're going to talk about this follow-up request here. A follow-up request is the manual part of your follow-up. So when Carolee said, hey, I'm really good at following up, but I don't have a process, these are the follow-up requests of, hey, this is my system of how I'm following up with someone that's not automatic. The automatic emails can absolutely go out. You can add people to campaigns. That's awesome. It's very doable. But what I want to just briefly touch on are those physical points of contact that you need to have for people to stay in their lives, right? A home is the #2 largest, or the second largest purchase that people make in their lifetime. It's second only to retirement plans. And it is very important that you are staying top of mind for all your clients, and that they see you as this trusted resource. So if I go in and I say, hey, I'm going to follow up with this contact type. So I say, hey, I'm going to follow up with my circle of influence type once a month. So this is going to be my monthly phone call. And that description is going to be check in to see how everything is going and what is new in their life. And then I'm going to have this be due in, and this is where I'm going to choose. So this is a monthly check-in. So maybe I want the first time I check in with my circle of influence to be in 2 weeks. As you're setting these up, it does make sense to push some of these things out a couple weeks. That gives you the ability to go in and attach these to people strategically. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, so that you can really begin to work your plan. Now, what time are you going to do this? Statistically speaking, Wednesdays and Thursdays, I believe it's between 2 and 6 o'clock. It might be 2 and 4 o'clock is the best time to follow up with people. That's when they are most likely to answer your phone call, and it's the best time to follow up. What I am going to tell all of you on the call today is this. The best time to follow up is the time that you're going to do it. So as you're looking at how you're blocking your day and how you're managing your day, you need to set aside a couple hours a day to follow up with people. Maybe you start with an hour and see if it's enough time, but you say, hey, every day between 10 and 11 is when I follow up with people. And so that's what time I'm going to assign to this task. Then I've got some options down here. Do I want to be blacklisted if this is overdue? So that means if I don't complete this task, do I want to remove myself from lead routing? Yes or no? Do I want this to repeat? Well, this is my monthly phone call. So yes, I do want this to repeat. And I want to repeat it after how many days? I'm going to have this repeat after 30 days. So I don't have to go in and put in a 14-day and then a 44-day and all of that. I can say, hey, I just want this one monthly check-in item to repeat. I want it to repeat every 30 days. And I want it to repeat, maybe I want it to repeat 60 times. So that gets me through 5 years of monthly follow-ups. Okay, average person in their home stays, according to National Association of Realtors, stays 10 years. And so if you want to up this and say, hey, they stay there 10 years, why am I not contacting them for the whole time? I can go out to 99 times. I want to be notified the same day. And is it required, yes or no? What this means is this something that is that you can snooze? Yes or no? And then again, who am I assigning it to? The assigned agent or the owner agent. This only applies if you're on a team or sharing contacts. And I'm going to click save. Now I've got that monthly phone call in there. Any questions on scheduling some of those follow-ups? You may have a monthly phone call, You may also have a follow-up. Maybe you have a quarterly business request. This is business request. And that request call is going to be something that is call and see if they know anyone looking for an agent, right? Because you have to ask for the business. And that is going to be due after 90 days at 10 a.m. because that's my call time. Yes, the question is, can we change the blacklist default to yes or no? No, Jen, you can't. It always defaults to yes, and then you'd have to change it to no. I want to repeat this. I want to repeat it every 90 days. I want to repeat it as long as I can. And I click save. So you can really start to build a comprehensive plan of what's going on. Now, what about campaigns? What if I want to have them get an automatic, like be on the company newsletter campaign or something like that? Can this system just auto add them? Absolutely it can. So I can go in, one of the action types that comes in is an add to campaign. I can say this, the company newsletter. I don't need to add a description. I want them to be immediately added to this. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose that newsletter campaign. Maybe I want this to be 14 days out. So I have some time to decide if I really want to do that. Awesome. So really going in and building those plans, tools, my action plans, creating that new plan, and having those lists of your contact types of how you want to follow up with them is a big deal. Cecilia, I did see your question. I'm going to look into that. I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. But before we go into the next section of this, which is how do I go about, like I made these plans now, how do I go about like attaching them to my people? And what kind of a strategy do I use there for that section? Do you have any questions about creating a contact action plan? And as you're starting to think about your contacts, what is the one contact action plan that you are going to create between now and next week? So when you think about, hey, okay, this is the contact action plan, contact action follow-up plan that I need in my life. What is that plan? And if you can drop that into the chat box, that would be awesome. This is an interactive webinar, and so I'm going to hang tight for a quick minute while you all are typing. A, does it make sense? Do you have questions about adding any actions to an action plan? And what is the action plan that you're going to create? That's a great one. So Daisy's going to create a renters to buyers. So how is she going to follow up with the people in her contact, in her CRM that are currently renters, so that she can convert them to buyers? Thank you, Sandra. Jen's creating one on non-responsive Zillow leads. Yep, new leads. How do I follow up with my buyers? How do I follow up with my sellers? Francis, I would too expand that a little bit, and I would maybe narrow down your buyer types into like a first-time home buyer versus a repeat home buyer. They usually need different levels of follow-up. And same with sellers. You know, that seller group can be subdivided a little bit. Are they selling like a primary residence sellers versus investment property sellers? because they really do need a little bit, just not a lot, but a little bit. They tweak it. You can tweak it just a little bit. All right, so once you've got these action plans, yeah, and that's a good point. So local buyers versus relocation buyers, they're very different. They need different information. There's different levels of hand holding. There's also a different time frame, right? People that are relocating incubate here for about 18 months. So if you're working a relocation lead, typically they're going to move between 12 and 18 months. Versus local buyers are moving within about 2 to 3 months. Naya, yeah, new leads that come in and working with my sellers. Another question that I often get asked is, hey, what about, I want to get more sellers, and everybody wants more sellers. How do I get more people selling? And the answer to that is you need to talk to the people in your circle of influence who are homeowners. And you need to be going out and talking to people who own their homes. So I would add to that seller's comment that is being dropped in the chat box that also an action plan for current homeowners, whether they are your past clients or they're someone else's. Maybe they're homeowners that you know in other states. Getting that referral business coming up and providing really good value to the people you know who own their home is a big deal. So once you're in that customer relations tab, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to attach these action plans to your clients. And if no action plan is assigned, you're going to see a blue bar across the top of the screen. To assign this from this screen, you're going to click assign, and then you're going to be able to go in and see all of the items. So I can see here's that hot new lead action plan that I created. I check a box and I can click save. Once I've added that, I can always access those action plans on this tab. So on this action tab, I can see what's happening. Also, things that the company or that the email inbox or the system can automatically do for you, it will. Notice that this has an auto response email, but it has not sent out because I don't have an email in here for this client. Once I add that email, the system is going to say, hey, I've got to send out that email. It will be queued out and it will go out. So it can't send an email if you don't have an email in there. And the other word of caution that I'm going to give you is it's very easy to get very excited about doing these action plans and working these action plans. It's also very easy to think, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into my contacts. I'm going to sort by contact type, and I'm going to go and I'm going to look at all of my circle of influence contacts, okay? And I'm going to click apply. And when you do this, you might have a list of 45 or 50 people come up. I'm going to add all these people to this action plan. That is awesome. I'm going to caution you that if you add everybody to that action plan on the same day, it means that you're going to have all of your follow-up actions populate on the same day. So your to-do gauge here on your main dashboard is going to have the follow-ups for all of those people on the same day. So I would recommend going in and adding about 25 people to an action plan on any given day. It will help you manage that follow-up process. It will help you make that process a little bit easier. And more manageable. The goal of this is that once you have those action plans created and attached to your clients, you are only having to manage your to-do gauge here. You're not having to go in and go through a list of your contacts and say, okay, when did I last talk to Naya? When did I last talk to Francis? When did I last talk to Jen? What's going on? So it gives you the ability to really build on things. When you click on this done button, as you populate your notes, so as I populate these notes, they will show here on the right hand side. So I really don't have to go into each individual contact and find them. I can mark this as done. I can say, hey, I texted Rudy to see how his new grandbaby was. I click save, and that action is done. As that person comes up next on my action plan, it's going to automatically populate here so that I'm really only working my dashboard. I'm not having to go in and scroll through all of my contacts to say, okay, hey, Rudy, okay, he was last updated, was here, what's going on? Okay, what are my notes? What's going on? How does this work? Do I have a list of items to include in action plans? For example, first-time home buyer, new builds, previous clients. As Lisa, are you talking about as far as like automatic emails or drip email marketing material? Yeah. I have some. I will put everything I have is on the Facebook page. And I will talk to our marketing team about getting some of that material together to include so that you all have access to it. Another great resource for you all is the National Association of Realtors has a ton of information on their site about these things. Hey, if someone's building a new home, what are these pain points? That report, the National Association of Realtors report that comes out at the end of the year, is a really great reference point as well. But yes, I will, if you're on our Facebook page, it's all under the documents tab, and I will talk to our marketing team about getting some more information out for you all to utilize. Great question. Other questions that you have for me? Yes. We all work and live in a land of it's busy. And once the season hits and we return to normal, business will be busy. And so really taking the time now to go in, work your database, build your action plan so that once you are busy, you can go in and you can really say, okay, 10 to 11 every day is my contact time. I'm going through my contact list. Maybe I'm looking at my favorite contacts and my recent contact activity, and then I'm moving on is a really big deal. There's one last piece to this that I want to make sure that you'll know about, and that is if you go into the Back at You item up here and you go into your profile. So where it says Back at You, it's going to say your name. And you go into your Preferences tab. When you go into your Preferences tab, you are going to see a section that says Notify New Tasks by email or by text. This is how you are notified of your upcoming action. So this Notified New Task by, that's how you get your notifications. And then below this is a section for your default action plan. So as you have new leads come in, if you have a default action plan that you want to assign to your new leads, you can absolutely do that. Hey, I've got a 7-point new lead action plan. I want every lead that comes in to be assigned to that action plan. That's where you add that, you click save, and then every new lead that comes in from your website, from your leads email, will automatically be assigned to that action plan. Again, to get there, we clicked on your name in the upper right-hand corner. We went to your profile, and then underneath that Preferences tab, that Notify New Tasks, and then that Default Action Plan section. So we are about 40 minutes past the hour. I want to make sure that I am valuing your time. If you have questions, I would love to answer them. But you will be getting a copy of this recording as well today. Jen and Naya, I totally agree. There is a power in planning and getting this set up to automatically attach and to really work your contact list and your CRM it's a really big deal. A really, really big deal. Any other questions for me? If you're typing a question, just drop a quick Y in the chat box so that I know that. I don't want to end this if you're typing your question. You're very welcome, Sandra. Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we will see you next week. You will be getting an email recap of this from our marketing team with links to next week's sessions, and we hope to see you there. We'll talk to you soon.